Nicole, where the hell are you? Megan's voice exploded through my phone at 7:14 a.m. I was sitting inside a coffee shop 3 blocks from work, slowly stirring sugar into my coffee while watching her name flash across the screen. For a second, I almost laughed, because I knew exactly where she was. Standing beside the bus stop on Westbrook Avenue with Tyler and Brandon, probably checking the road every 10 seconds and wondering why my silver Honda CR-V hadn't appeared. The same Honda I'd sold for cash yesterday afternoon. I answered, "Morning, Megan." "Don't morning me. We've been waiting 15 minutes. We. Me, Tyler, and Brandon. Who else? I took a sip of coffee, and there was a short pause. And where are you? At a coffee shop. What? I'm having breakfast. Her voice sharpened immediately. Nicole, we have the Henderson presentation at 8:30. I know. So come pick us up. No. The word came out so easily that I almost didn't recognize myself. In my previous life, saying no to Megan had felt impossible. Now it felt incredible. What do you mean, no? I mean, I don't have a car anymore. Another pause. Then she laughed. Not because she thought it was funny, because she thought I was joking. Very cute. Seriously, Nicole, we're already late. I sold it yesterday. This time nobody spoke. I could hear traffic behind her, then Tyler's muffled voice asking, "What did she say?" Megan finally snapped. "You sold your car?" "Yep." "Why?" "Because it belonged to me. You can't just do that." I actually pulled the phone away from my ear and stared at it. There it was. The sentence I remembered. Not exactly the same situation, but exactly the same attitude. You can't just do that. 8 months from now, in my previous life, I had heard those words while lying in a hospital bed with stitches above my eyebrow. Back then, I'd driven these people to work almost every morning. Megan lived 12 minutes out of my way. Tyler lived another 8. Brandon originally offered to meet us halfway, but after 2 weeks he started texting, "Can you swing by my apartment?" I always did. At first, they bought me coffee. Then the coffee stopped. Next came lunch pickups, airport rides, grocery stops, and weekend favors. Nobody paid for gas. Nobody paid for parking. And whenever I tried to complain, Megan would smile and say, "Come on, Nicole. We're basically family." Family. That word had cost me thousands of dollars. But money wasn't what killed the old me. It was the accident. A stormy Thursday night. An important client meeting. Megan screaming that we were going to be late. Go around him. The light is red. There's nobody coming. Megan, stop. God, Nicole, why do you drive like my grandmother? Then the impact. Afterward, everything changed. Suddenly nobody remembered pressuring me. Nobody remembered Tyler distracting me from the passenger seat. Nobody remembered Megan demanding I hurry. When the insurance investigation started, all 3 of them gave statements that protected themselves. And Eric, our manager, finished the job. Nicole volunteered to transport the team. Nicole was responsible for the vehicle. Nicole made the decision to drive despite unsafe weather. By the time I understood what they'd done, my career was ruined. My savings were disappearing into legal fees, and Megan had taken the promotion I'd spent 2 years working for. Then I died. Not dramatically, not heroically, just alone, exhausted, and furious at myself for spending my entire life making things easier for people who wouldn't even make one phone call for me. And then I opened my eyes yesterday morning, 8 months earlier. My car keys were sitting on the kitchen counter. I stared at them for maybe 5 seconds. Then I called the dealership. By 4:20 p.m., the Honda was gone. The money was in my account. Now Megan was screaming into my ear. What are we supposed to do? That question brought me back. I smiled. Take the bus. The bus takes 40 minutes. Then you should have left earlier. Nicole. I ended the call. It rang again immediately. Tyler. Decline. Brandon. Decline. Megan again. Decline. Then a message appeared in our group chat. Megan, are you seriously doing this today? Tyler, Nicole, we need to talk. Brandon, why didn't you warn anyone? I typed one sentence. Me. I didn't realize I needed permission to sell my own property. 3 dots appeared instantly, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, Megan replied. Megan, this affects all of US. That almost made me choke on my coffee. I put my phone down and headed to work. At 8:05, I walked into the office. Megan's desk was empty. Tyler's was empty. Brandon's was empty. Mine wasn't. I sat down, opened the Henderson presentation, and reviewed my slides. At 8:27, the elevator doors opened. Megan came rushing out first. Her hair was messy, her shoes were wet, and she looked ready to murder someone. Tyler followed her. Brandon came last. Megan marched straight toward me. You took an Uber? Ich glänzte her. Train. You could have picked us up in the Uber. I didn't take an Uber. That's not the point. Then what is? She planted both hands on my desk. You knew we depended on you. There it was again. Not thank you for driving us for 14 months. Not sorry we never paid you. They depended on me, as if that created ownership. Before I could answer, Eric stepped out of his office. What's going on? Megan turned immediately. Nicole sold the car. Eric blinked. Then, unbelievably, he looked at me with irritation. You sold your vehicle? Yes. Without telling the team? I leaned back in my chair. Why would I tell the team? Eric lowered his voice. Because transportation has become part of our morning arrangement. No, it became part of their morning arrangement. Tyler jumped in. Come on, Nicole. Don't make this weird. I looked at him. You've paid for gas how many times? His mouth closed. I turned to Brandon. Parking. Nothing. Then Megan. Tolls. Her face tightened. Eric sighed like I was the difficult one. We have a major client meeting today. Whatever personal disagreement is happening here, I expect everyone to act professionally. Great, I said. Then, professionally speaking, transportation to work is each employee's responsibility. Megan laughed bitterly. You've changed overnight. She had no idea how right she was. Eric checked his watch. We'll discuss this after the Henderson meeting. The meeting went better than anyone expected, mostly because Megan arrived unprepared. She had apparently spent her entire commute calling me instead of reviewing the revised numbers. When Henderson's CFO asked about the projected implementation costs, Megan stumbled. I believe that figure is around $480. I spoke before she could dig deeper. $432,000 in Phase 1 with a potential reduction to $405 if they approve the vendor consolidation. The CFO nodded. Exactly. Megan looked at me. I remembered that look too. In my previous life, I'd mistaken it for competitiveness. Now I recognized fear. She needed me in more ways than one. After the meeting, Eric sent me a message. My office, 10:30. I expected a lecture. Instead, when I entered, Megan was already sitting there. Eric folded his hands. We need to find a solution. To what? The transportation problem. There isn't one. Megan turned toward me. There obviously is. Buy a car. I can't afford one right now. Then take the train. You know my apartment isn't near the station. Move. Her jaw dropped. Eric frowned. Nicole, that attitude isn't helpful. I reached into my folder. I agree, so I brought something helpful. I placed a printed spreadsheet on his desk. Eric looked down. Megan leaned forward. What's that? 14 months of gas, tolls, downtown parking, airport pickups, and mileage from driving Coworkers. The total at the bottom was highlighted. $6,842.17. Megan's expression changed. Eric stopped frowning. I tapped the paper. If transporting coworkers is officially part of my job, I'd like reimbursement. Nobody spoke. If it isn't, I continued, then there's nothing to discuss. Eric pushed the paper slightly away. We'll revisit this later. Perfect. I stood. As I reached the door, Megan spoke. You're really going to ruin everything over $6,000. I turned around. No. She narrowed her eyes. Then what is this? Ismail Taher. I'm finally finding out how much my kindness costs. I walked out before she could answer. At lunch, something unexpected happened. A notification appeared on my phone. An email from Human Resources. Subject: Transportation Arrangement Inquiry. I opened it. Someone had already complained. The message said HR had been informed that I had abruptly terminated a long-standing employee transportation arrangement that was allegedly affecting departmental attendance. I read it twice. Then I started laughing. They had actually reported me for refusing to drive them, but the last line made me stop. Manager Eric Dawson has indicated that transportation support may have been incorporated into your team responsibilities. Please meet with HR tomorrow at 9 a.m. to clarify. My smile disappeared. That hadn't happened in my previous life. Eric was moving earlier this time, which meant selling the car had changed the timeline. And if Eric was willing to officially claim my private vehicle had somehow become part of my job, then maybe the accident 8 months from now had never been as simple as I thought. I opened my old email archive and searched one phrase. Team transportation. 7 results appeared. One was from Eric, 6 months old. I clicked it, and the first sentence made my blood run cold. Nicole will continue handling transportation until we formalize the vehicle arrangement. Formalize? I had never agreed to any vehicle arrangement. Then I noticed the attachment, a document I had never seen before, and at the bottom of the page was my name. Nicole Carter, approved. Someone had approved it for me. I didn't open the attachment right away. I stared at my name at the bottom of the email and read the line again. Nicole Carter, approved. My fingers tightened around the mouse. I remembered the date. 6 months ago. That was around the time Eric had started casually saying things like, Nicole, can you make sure everyone gets downtown on time? Or, since you're already driving, grab Brandon on the way. I had treated those requests like favors. Apparently, someone had been building paperwork around them. I downloaded the document. It was titled, Temporary Team Transportation Support Plan. The language was carefully vague. It said I had voluntarily agreed to assist with employee transportation during a transitional period. No payment amount, no mailig reimbursement, no end date, and no actual signature, just my typed name. I scrolled through the metadata. Created by Eric Dawson. Modified by Megan Price. My stomach turned. Megan. Of course. I immediately forwarded the email and attachment to my personal account. Then I saved screenshots. Then I downloaded the entire email thread. In my old life, I always tried to resolve problems quietly. This time I documented first. At 1:06 p.m., Megan appeared beside my desk carrying a salad. You're still mad? I kept typing. About what? She gave me an annoyed smile. Okay, are we really doing this? Doing what? This cold attitude. I stopped and looked at her. You reported me to HR. Her expression shifted. I didn't report you. Then who did? She looked toward Eric's office. That was enough. Eric did it because this affects the department. No, Megan. 3 adults being unable to commute without using my personal car affects 3 adults. She pulled out the chair beside my desk and sat. Can you stop talking like a lawyer for 5 seconds? I'm not a lawyer. You know what I mean. I leaned back. No, I actually don't. She sighed. Look, maybe everybody got a little too comfortable. A little. Fine. Too comfortable. That was the closest thing to an admission I'd ever heard from her. Then she continued, but selling the car without warning was extreme. There it was. I almost smiled. She couldn't apologize without blaming me in the same sentence. What would warning you have changed? We could have figured something out. Like what? She hesitated. I don't know. Maybe you could have waited. For how long? Until Tyler got his bonus, or Brandon moved closer, or I bought a car. Her mouth tightened. I'm working on it. You've been working on it for 14 months. That's not fair. No. Paying almost $7,000 so coworkers can save money is what wasn't fair. She lowered her voice. You're acting like we forced you. That sentence hit harder than it should have. Because in my previous life, after the crash, Megan had said almost the same thing during the insurance investigation. Nobody forced Nicole to drive. Back then, I had been too shocked to respond. Now I knew exactly what to say. You're right. She blinked. I am. You didn't force me. I folded my hands. I allowed it. That was my mistake. And I corrected it. She stared at me for a moment. Then she laughed once. You know what? Fine. She stood. We'll handle it ourselves. Good. But don't expect everyone to forget this. I looked back at my screen. I'm counting on it. She walked away. At 2:30, Tyler sent me a Venmo request. I stared at it. $38.50 Uber this morning. For several seconds, I genuinely thought I was reading it wrong. Then his message arrived. Tyler, since the car situation changed without notice, thought splitting today's ride was fair. I took a screenshot. Then I replied. Me declined. 3 seconds later. Tyler, seriously? Me very. Tyler, you caused the expense. Me no. You went to work. He didn't answer. By 3 o'clock, the entire office seemed to know. People from accounting were glancing toward our desks. Someone from sales walked past and whispered, Did Tyler really request Uber money? Apparently, yes. Megan looked furious. Not at Tyler, at me, because people were laughing. At 4:10, Eric called me into his office again. This time he closed the door. I want to resolve tomorrow's HR meeting before it turns into something bigger. That sounds smart. He didn't appreciate my tone. Nicole, you've always been considered a cooperative employee. Have I? Yes. Then why was a transportation agreement created in my name without my signature? His expression barely moved. Barely. But I saw it. That document was administrative. It says I approved it. You verbally agreed to drive the team. I agreed to give coworkers rides. That's essentially the same thing. No, it isn't. He leaned back. Nicole, be careful. With what? With turning a workplace misunderstanding into an accusation. I almost admired the technique. He wasn't denying it. He was trying to make me afraid of naming it. I pulled out my phone. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm asking who typed my approval. Eric's eyes flicked toward the phone. Are you recording this? No, I wasn't. Not yet. He relaxed slightly. Then let's be practical. Here it came. The company may be willing to provide a monthly transportation allowance. I waited. In exchange for what? He spread his hands. You purchase another vehicle and resume the morning pickup arrangement temporarily. I almost laughed. You're serious? The company would help with the cost. How much? Possibly $300 a month. I stared at him. That wouldn't cover gas, insurance, parking, maintenance, or mileage. It's still support. And I'm still saying no. Eric's face hardened. You sold a functional vehicle for cash yesterday. You clearly have funds available. For 1 second, I couldn't believe he had actually said that. Then I understood. This wasn't about solving transportation. This was about restoring the system. My car, my money, my time, their convenience. I stood. You're asking me to spend my money buying a car so coworkers can avoid spending theirs. That's an emotional interpretation. No, that's arithmetic. His jaw tightened. You may want to consider how this affects your standing on the team. There it was. The threat. In my old life, that sentence would have terrified me. Promotion. Performance review. References. I had built my whole identity around being easy to work with. Now I saw what easy had really meant. Easy to use. I smiled. I'll consider it. Eric nodded, probably thinking he'd won. Then I added, and I'll bring the unsigned transportation document to HR tomorrow. His face changed, just slightly. You don't need to make this adversarial. I didn't. I reached for the door. Whoever put my name on that document did. At 5:20, I left the office and took the train home. For the first time in over a year, I didn't have messages asking me to stop at Target. Nobody needed a ride to the gym. Nobody wanted me to swing by a restaurant. The silence felt expensive. In the best way. When I got home, I opened my laptop and started organizing evidence. Fuel receipts, parking charges, toll records, messages. There were hundreds. Megan, can you grab me tomorrow? My Lyft is like $29 LL. Tyler, running late, wait 10 minutes. Brandon, can we stop at the pharmacy? Then I found one message from 8 months before the accident. It was from Eric. Eric, make sure Megan gets to the client site. She's presenting. Team priority. I searched again. More messages appeared. Some were worse. Eric, Brandon says you left without him. Please remember reliability matters. Eric, Megan was late because pickup timing changed. Let's avoid that going forward. My mouth went dry. He had been creating a record that made me look responsible for their transportation. Long before the accident, I kept digging. Then I found something I had never noticed. A reimbursement report submitted by Eric. Category: Employee Transportation Support. Amount: $450 monthly. I opened the attached expense summary. For 6 straight months, the department had claimed $450 each month for transportation. I had never received a cent. I checked the approval trail. Eric submitted it. Finance approved it. The funds had been deposited into a departmental operations account. 6 months. $2,700. My car had been used to justify company reimbursements, and I had paid for everything myself. I took screenshots so fast my hands hurt. Then my phone rang. Brandon. I almost ignored it. Something made me answer. Hello. His voice was low. Nicole, are you alone? That wasn't normal. Yes. Don't tell Megan I called. I sat straighter. Why? He exhaled. Because this car thing is getting weird. It was already weird. No, I mean Eric's freaking out. I didn't respond. Brandon continued. After you left, he pulled Megan into his office. They were arguing. About? I only heard part of it. Tell me. Another breath. Megan said. You told me she'd never checked the reimbursement files. Everything inside me went still. Brandon rushed on. I don't know what that means. But then Eric saw me, so I left. Why are you telling me? Because I don't want to be involved if something illegal happened. I almost laughed. That was Brandon. 14 months of free rides hadn't bothered him. Potential legal trouble did. Anything else? Yes. His voice dropped even lower. Megan said something else. What? She said, if you bring up the old transportation paperwork tomorrow, they need to make HR believe you agreed to everything. I gripped the phone. Did she say how? No. Then he hesitated. But Tyler told me Megan asked him to find old group chat messages where you said things like, I'll pick everyone up. Of course. They were preparing, not to explain the truth, to build a version of it. Thanks, Brandon. Nicole. Yeah. I really didn't know about the reimbursement money. Interesting. I hadn't told him I knew about it. I smiled slowly. I never mentioned reimbursement money. He went completely silent. Then the call ended. I looked at my phone, and for the first time since coming back, I realized something important. Megan and Eric weren't the only ones hiding things. Brandon knew more than he was saying. Maybe Tyler did too. Tomorrow's HR meeting wasn't going to be about a car. It was going to be about who had been making money off mine. At 8:52 the next morning, I walked into the HR conference room carrying a folder thick enough to make Megan nervous. She was already there. So was Eric. Tyler sat beside her with his arms folded, and Brandon had chosen a chair slightly away from everyone else. That told me plenty. Samantha Reed from HR looked up from her laptop. "Nicole, thanks for coming." "Of course." Eric gave me the kind of smile managers use when they want to look reasonable in front of someone with authority. "Hopefully we can clear this up quickly." "I hope so too." Megan glanced at my folder. "What's all that?" "Receipts." Her mouth tightened. Samantha gestured toward the empty chair. "Let's start with the basic issue. Eric reported that your team had an established transportation arrangement and that you ended it without notice, creating attendance problems." I sat down. Was the arrangement part of my job description? Samantha looked at Eric. Eric cleared his throat. It developed informally. "That wasn't my question." Samantha raised a hand. "Nicole, we'll get there." I nodded. She continued. "Eric also provided a document showing that you agreed to assist with team transportation." Megan visibly relaxed. There it was, their opening move. Samantha turned her laptop toward me. The same document, temporary team transportation support plan. My typed name at the bottom. I looked at it for a few seconds. Then I asked, "Do you have the original approval email?" Eric answered before Samantha could. "The document itself records approval." I looked at him. "By whom?" "You." "I didn't." Megan leaned forward. "Oh, come on. You drove us every day." "I'm not disputing that." "Then what exactly are you disputing?" "That giving coworkers rides means I agreed to turn my private vehicle into company transportation." Tyler shook his head. "You literally said in the group chat, 'I'll pick everyone up tomorrow.' I also once said I'd bring donuts. Did that make me the company cafeteria?" Brandon looked down, hiding a smile. Megan didn't. "This isn't funny." "No, Megan. It really isn't." I opened my folder. Samantha watched me pull out the first page. "This is my employment agreement. My listed responsibilities involve client strategy, account reporting, and implementation support. There is nothing about employee transportation." I placed another page beside it. "These are 14 months of fuel, toll, maintenance, and parking expenses." Then another. "These are messages showing that the rides began as voluntary favors." Eric shifted in his chair. "None of that changes the fact that the arrangement became established." I nodded. "Good point." He looked surprised. I pulled out the unsigned transportation document. "Then let's talk about how it became established." Samantha's expression sharpened. I slid the page toward her. "This document says I approved an official transportation support plan." "Yes," she said. "I never signed it. It doesn't have a signature field." "Exactly." Eric interjected. "We use electronic approval constantly. Then there should be an electronic record." Samantha looked at him. "Was there?" Eric paused. "Possibly. Possibly." I repeated. He gave me an irritated look. "It was 6 months ago." I opened my laptop. I checked the file metadata. Megan's face changed. Just a fraction. The file was created by Eric and modified by Megan. Tyler turned toward her. "You edited it?" Megan immediately replied, "I help Eric with administrative documents all the time. I nodded. So maybe you remember typing my name into the approval section. I didn't. Then we can ask IT. That landed. Megan leaned back. Eric's voice hardened. Nicole, this is becoming unnecessarily accusatory. No, it's becoming specific. Samantha, stop typing. What exactly are you alleging? I turned to her. That someone documented my private car as an official team resource without my authorization. Nobody interrupted. And there's more. I placed the reimbursement reports on the table. Eric went still. Megan looked at him. That reaction was worth more than any confession. Samantha picked up the first page. What is this? 6 monthly departmental reimbursements, $450 each, all categorized as employee transportation support. Samantha's eyes moved down the page, then to Eric. Were these expenses related to Nicole's vehicle? Eric took too long to answer. They were general transportation support expenses. Then who received the money? It went into the departmental operations account. I opened another page. Correct, but none of it came to me. Samantha frowned. You paid for your own fuel? Yes. Parking? Yes. Tolls? Yes. Maintenance? Yes. And the department was receiving reimbursement connected to transportation. That's what the records show. Eric leaned forward. That is a misleading interpretation. I almost smiled, then explained the correct one. He looked at Samantha instead. Operational funds cover multiple expenses. Nicole is assuming the reimbursement was meant specifically for her. Samantha examined the report. It references private vehicle team transport. Eric said nothing. Tyler's arms slowly unfolded. He clearly hadn't known that part. Megan did. I could see it. Samantha turned to her. You modified the transportation document. Were you aware of these reimbursement submissions? Megan's eyes widened. No. Too fast. I remembered Brandon's call. You told me she'd never check the reimbursement files. I could use it, but not yet. Instead, I looked at Brandon. He immediately knew what I was doing. His face lost color. Samantha noticed. Brandon. He swallowed. I don't handle accounting. I didn't ask whether you did. He glanced at Eric. That was mistake number 1. Then Megan. Mistake number 2. Finally, he said, I heard them arguing yesterday. Eric snapped. Brandon. Samantha looked up. Let him answer. Brandon rubbed his palms against his pants. I heard Megan say something about reimbursement files. Megan stared at him. You were listening outside Eric's office. I was walking past. You're unbelievable. You're the one who said it. The room changed instantly. Now they weren't presenting a united version anymore. Samantha turned to Megan. What did you say? I don't remember. Brandon laughed nervously. Yes, you do. Shut up, Brandon. Don't tell me to shut up. I'm not getting dragged into this. Eric raised his voice. That's enough. Samantha's expression became cold. No, Eric, it isn't. Everyone stopped. She looked around the table. From this point forward, nobody interrupts anyone else. Then she turned back to Brandon. Tell me exactly what you heard. His face was red. Megan said Eric told her Nicole would never check the reimbursement files. Megan shoved her chair back slightly. That is not what I said. It is. You're twisting it. Why would I? Because you're scared. I am scared. That answer surprised everybody. Brandon pointed at the documents in front of me. I didn't know they were using Nicole's car to claim money. Again, he knew exactly what the money was connected to. I watched Samantha catch the same detail. Using her car, she asked. Brandon's mouth opened, then closed. Eric stepped in. This meeting is clearly becoming unproductive. Samantha looked at him. Actually, I think it just became very productive. She closed her laptop. Nicole, I'm suspending this transportation complaint. Megan stared at her. What? Pending internal review. But we're the ones who… Samantha cut her off. Attendance remains each employee's responsibility unless company policy states otherwise. I almost wanted to frame that sentence. She continued, Eric, I need all expense submissions connected to transportation for the last 18 months. His face stiffened. And Megan, since you modified the document, IT will review the file history. Megan looked at me like I had personally destroyed her life. I didn't care. Samantha turned to me. Nicole, I may need copies of the receipts you brought. You can have them. And please preserve any related messages. Already done. That made Eric look at me differently. For the first time, he seemed to understand that I wasn't improvising. I had come prepared. The meeting ended at 10:07. Tyler caught up with me in the hallway. Nicole. I kept walking. Not now. I seriously didn't know. About what? The reimbursement. I stopped. Did you know about the document? His expression shifted. That was enough. Tyler. He exhaled. Megan showed it to us months ago. My chest tightened. Us. Me and Brandon. What did she say? That Eric wanted something on file because you were basically the team driver. And nobody thought I should see the document describing my own car? He rubbed the back of his neck. We thought you knew. No, you didn't. He looked away. I stepped closer. You all knew I paid for gas. Nothing. You all knew I paid for parking. Still nothing. You all knew I never mentioned receiving company money. His jaw tightened. Okay. Okay, what? Maybe I should have asked. I laughed. That's one way to put it. He lowered his voice. Megan told us not to worry about it. Why? She said Eric had figured out a way to cover the transportation budget. There it was. How? I don't know. Think. He looked uncomfortable. Sometimes she bought stuff with the department card. What stuff? Lunch, drinks, gift cards. My eyes narrowed. Gift cards. I don't know, Nicole. Seriously. Did she ever give any to you? He hesitated. That hesitation answered me. How much? Maybe 100 here and there. For what? He looked embarrassed. Helping with team stuff. I stared at him. You were getting gift cards while riding in my car for free. That sounds bad when you say it like that. It sounds accurate. He sighed. Look, I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to help yourself before HR asks you the same questions. He didn't deny it. I walked away. By noon, the office atmosphere had completely changed. Nobody joked about my car anymore. Eric stayed inside his office. Megan barely spoke. Brandon avoided all of us. At 12:43, I received an email from HR requesting 18 months of messages and receipts. At 1:15, IT came upstairs. At 1:40, Megan disappeared into a conference room with Samantha. At 2:05, Eric joined them. At 2:37, Tyler received an email and whispered, "Oh, crap." I almost asked, then decided I didn't need to. The truth was moving without my help now. At 3:18, Samantha came to my desk. Nicole, do you have a minute? Sure. She didn't take me to the conference room. She took me into an empty office and closed the door. Her expression was different this time, more serious. We found the approval history. My heart started beating faster. The transportation document. Yes. She placed a printed log on the desk. The original file had no approval from you. I already expected that. Then she continued. Your name was added later. By Megan. Samantha hesitated. The edit came from Megan's company account. I nodded slowly. But the file was accessed from Eric's workstation 12 minutes before the edit. So they had done it together. My old instincts wanted to feel shocked. My new ones only wanted evidence. Is that enough to prove they falsified approval? We're still investigating. Fair. Then Samantha placed another document beside it. This is why I asked you here privately. I looked down. It was an internal ledger. Transportation reimbursements, gift card purchases, client meals, miscellaneous operating expenses, thousands of dollars. Then I saw my name, multiple times. N. Carter, vehicle reimbursement acknowledgement. My stomach dropped. What is that? Samantha watched me carefully. Those entries indicate that you acknowledged receiving reimbursements. I never did. We know. I looked up. How? Because the acknowledgments were submitted while you were logged into client meetings in other locations. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I understood. This wasn't sloppy bookkeeping. Somebody had been using my name. Repeatedly. Samantha tapped the page. We also found something else. She flipped to the final sheet. A payment, much larger than the others. $8,600. Private vehicle risk coverage. Date scheduled. 8 months from now. The exact week of the accident in my previous life. My throat tightened. What does risk coverage mean? Samantha shook her head. We don't know yet. But I did. Or at least I knew enough to be terrified. 8 months from now there would be a storm, a client meeting, my car, an accident, and somehow before any of it happened, someone had already scheduled $8,600 connected to the risk of my private vehicle. That meant one impossible thing. The accident hadn't simply ruined my life after it happened. Someone had been preparing for it before it happened. I read the line 3 times. $8,600. Private vehicle risk coverage. 8 months from now. The week of the crash. Samantha watched my face. Nicole. I looked up. Who scheduled this payment? We're still tracing it. Was it approved? Pre-approved. By Eric. She hesitated. His name is attached to the request. Of course it was. I leaned back. What was the justification? That's the problem. She slid another page toward me. The request described my Honda as a regularly utilized team transport vehicle exposed to elevated operational risk. I almost laughed. They turned my car into a company asset without telling me. Not technically. That sentence says otherwise. Samantha nodded once. I agree that the language is concerning. Concerning? I pointed at the paper. They were claiming reimbursement, documenting me as a driver, and scheduling risk money before an accident that hadn't even happened yet. She studied me. You keep saying accident. I realized too late what I'd done. In this life, the crash hadn't happened. I forced myself to stay calm. I mean, a potential accident. Samantha's eyes stayed on me for another second, then moved back to the paperwork. Either way, we need more context. What happens now? Eric's expense authority has been temporarily frozen. That was something. And Megan, her access to administrative files has been restricted. Tyler and Brandon, being interviewed separately. I nodded. Then Samantha added, there's another issue. Of course there was. What? Eric submitted a proposal this morning. This morning. Before our meeting. She handed me a fresh document. I read the title, Employee Transportation Continuity Proposal. I nearly laughed. What is this? He proposed that the company provide you a vehicle stipend. I scanned the numbers. $300 a month. Exactly what he had offered me yesterday. Then I reached the last section. My amusement disappeared. Employee agrees to maintain reliable transportation capacity for designated team members. There it was, a cleaner version of the same trap. They're trying to make it official now. That's how it appears. And he submitted this before HR even decided whether I had a transportation duty. Yes. I looked at Samantha. He wants me to buy another car. I know. With my money. Yes. So he can preserve the paperwork. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. I stood. I'm not signing anything. I wouldn't recommend signing anything right now. Good. I gathered my folder. Then Samantha said, Nicole, one more thing. I turned. If anyone pressures you about purchasing a vehicle, accepting transportation duties, or changing your statement, forward it directly to HR. That sentence made me smile. Gladly. By 4 p.m., the office had turned into a pressure cooker. Eric's door stayed shut. Megan pretended to work. Tyler spent most of the afternoon staring at his phone. Brandon disappeared twice for calls. At 4:18, Megan finally broke. She walked straight to my desk. Can we talk somewhere private? No. Her eyes narrowed. Nicole, whatever you want to say it here. Several nearby coworkers suddenly became very interested in their screens. Megan lowered her voice. You're enjoying this? No. You are. I'm enjoying not paying for your commute. This is bigger than commuting now, and you know it. I closed my laptop. Then tell me how big. She folded her arms. You're making Eric look like some kind of criminal. I haven't made Eric look like anything. You gave HR 18 months of records. Records he created. Her mouth tightened. You always do this. Do what? Act innocent. That almost impressed me. Explain. She leaned closer. You liked being needed. I stared at her. You loved being the reliable one, the responsible one, the person everybody called. And that gave you permission to use me? I didn't say that. You implied it. No, Nicole. I'm saying you benefited too. I laughed. How? You got visibility. You spent more time with the team. You got included in client stuff. I got included because I did the work. She shook her head. You really think that? Now she had my attention. What does that mean? Megan glanced around. Then she whispered, Eric pushed your name for projects because you were useful. Useful how? She hesitated. That was always where the truth lived. Megan. She exhaled. He liked having someone dependable. For transportation. For everything. I watched her carefully. And the reimbursement money? I didn't take it. Did you know about it? I knew there was a transportation budget. That's not what I asked. Her eyes flicked away. Yes. How long? Months. And you never told me. I assumed Eric was handling it. You edited the document with my name. Her voice sharpened. Because he told me you agreed. Did you believe him? She didn't answer. That told me enough. I leaned back. Why are you really here? For the first time, Megan's confidence cracked. Because HR froze the department card. There it was. And everything is getting screwed up. For you. For everyone. No. Mostly for the people spending money they couldn't explain. She glared at me. Do you know what happens if Eric gets fired? I sleep better. I'm serious. So am I. She dropped her voice again. He'll blame us. That was interesting. Us. Me. Tyler. Brandon. And me? You're already protecting yourself. I smiled. You mean documenting facts? You know what I mean. No, I don't. She rubbed her forehead. Eric has messages. What kind of messages? She looked toward his office, then back at me. Messages where we joked about you driving. I almost laughed. That's your leverage? No. Her face changed. He has messages from after client dinners. People asking you to pick them up. People drinking in your car. Brandon carrying client files. Tyler putting equipment in the back. My amusement faded. Why does that matter? Because Eric can say you knew the car was being used for company activity. I stared at her. That was the strategy. If they couldn't prove I approved the arrangement, they would prove I tolerated it. Then turn tolerance into consent. Megan leaned closer. If you tell HR this was all voluntary, Eric can show dozens of times you participated. Giving someone a ride doesn't transfer ownership. I know. Then why are you defending him? I'm not. You've been defending him for 2 days. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Because he said if this blows up, he'll release everything. I narrowed my eyes. What is everything? She looked terrified now. Not annoyed. Terrified. I don't know. I didn't believe her. Before I could push further, Eric's door opened. He stepped out and looked directly at us. Megan. She moved away from my desk instantly. That told me exactly who she feared more. He walked over slowly. Nicole, a word. No. His expression changed. Excuse me. If it's work-related, email me. Several heads lifted around the office. He forced a smile. This is becoming childish. I agree. That's why I'd like everything documented. The smile disappeared. Fine. He pulled out his phone. 30 seconds later, an email hit my inbox. Subject: Transportation Resolution. I opened it. Eric had copied Samantha from HR. Smart. He wrote that the team needed immediate continuity and proposed a temporary transportation solution until the investigation concluded. Then I saw the final paragraph. Because Nicole voluntarily liquidated the vehicle previously used for team operations, I recommend that a replacement vehicle be acquired using a combination of employee funds and company stipend support. I stared at the phrase, voluntarily liquidated, like I had sold company equipment. I hit reply all. My personal vehicle was never company property. I will not purchase a replacement vehicle for coworkers. Please do not represent my private financial decisions as an operational matter. Then I added one more line. If the company believes it had ownership, control, or financial interest in my vehicle, please provide the legal documentation establishing that interest. Send. Less than 2 minutes later, Samantha replied. HR confirms that no such ownership documentation currently exists. I looked toward Eric. His jaw tightened. That felt good, but it wasn't over. At 5:03, Tyler rolled his chair toward me. Nicole. What? He looked around. Then he whispered, You should check the parking garage records. I frowned. What? The garage. What about it? He swallowed. I remembered something. Say it. A few months ago, Eric asked for your license plate number. My skin prickled. Why? He said accounting needed it for parking reimbursement. I don't use company parking. I know. Then why did you give it to him? Tyler looked embarrassed. You had sent it in the group chat once when Megan couldn't find her car. Of course. He continued. And after that, there were a few days when Eric asked if you'd park downstairs. I never did. I know. Tyler, what are you trying to tell me? He leaned closer. I think someone registered your car in the corporate garage system. My stomach tightened. For what? I don't know. Then he looked genuinely scared. But I remember seeing your plate on Eric's monthly access sheet. That night, I emailed Samantha. By 7:40, she replied. She had already contacted building security. At 8:16, another email arrived. Nicole, we need to speak tomorrow morning. Security located a vehicle profile connected to your license plate. Attached was a screenshot, my old plate number, my name, my vehicle make and model, and beneath it, authorized corporate transport vehicle. I stared at the screen. They hadn't just used my car. They had built an entire paper trail, making it look like I had agreed to use it for company business. Then I saw the registration date, 3 days before Eric first asked me to give Megan a ride. That meant the arrangement hadn't developed informally. They had planned it before I even knew there was an arrangement. And suddenly, the most disturbing part of my previous life made sense. The free rides had never been an accident. I had been selected. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I was afraid, because I was finally seeing the pattern. In my previous life, I had spent months asking one question. Why did everyone turn against me after the accident? Now I had a different question. Why had they prepared for my accident before it happened? The answer was becoming obvious. The car wasn't just transportation. It was a tool they needed, a tool they controlled. And when I died, they needed someone to carry the blame. That someone was supposed to be me. At 6:30 the next morning, I received a message from Samantha. Security confirmed the vehicle profile was created by someone with administrative access. We need you in the office before the building opens. I arrived at 7:45. Samantha was already waiting. She looked exhausted. That told me the situation was worse than I expected. Nicole, before we go upstairs, I need to ask you something. Okay. Did you ever authorize anyone to register your vehicle under company transportation? No. Did you ever sign a vehicle usage agreement? No. Did you ever receive company payment for using your vehicle? No. She nodded. I believe you. Those 4 words meant more than she probably realized, because in my previous life, nobody had said them. Not once. We entered a small security office. A man in a gray uniform stood up. This is Mark Collins, building security manager. Mark shook my hand. Nicole, I reviewed the access records. Did you find anything? Yes. He pulled up a file. Your vehicle was added to the corporate transportation database 11 months ago. My eyes narrowed. 11 months. That was exactly when Eric started increasing the rides. Who added it? Mark looked at the screen. An administrative account. Megan. No. Eric. No. That surprised me. Then who? Mark clicked another file. The request was submitted under a temporary operations account. Whose account? He looked uncomfortable. That's the problem. Samantha stepped closer. Tell her. Mark sighed. The account belonged to a former employee. I frowned. Who? He turned the screen. A name appeared. Daniel Brooks. I knew that name. Everyone at the company knew it. Daniel had been Eric's assistant. He left 9 months ago after a disagreement with management. But why would he register my car? I've never worked with him. Samantha looked at me. Are you sure? Yes. She was quiet. Then she opened another file. Because Daniel was involved in the original transportation budget proposal. My stomach tightened. The one connected to my car. Yes. How? Samantha looked at the document. His proposal recommended using employee-owned vehicles for cost-efficient team mobility. I stared. Employee-owned. Yes. Without employees agreeing. That appears to be the issue. The pieces were coming together. Eric didn't suddenly decide to use my car. He had inherited a system designed to turn employees into unpaid resources. And I had been the perfect target. Reliable, quiet, always willing to help. Samantha continued. Nicole, there's something else. What? The building access records show your vehicle entered the garage during several client events. That's impossible. Why? Because I wasn't there. Mark looked at me. Are you saying someone else used your vehicle? No. I thought carefully, then remembered. The spare key. In my previous life, I had given Megan a spare key once. Not because I trusted her, because she said she was worried she would get locked out when I was late. I had forgotten about it. Until now. Wait. Samantha looked up. What? I gave Megan a spare key. When? About 10 months ago. Did she return it? I opened my mouth, then stopped. No, she hadn't. I had forgotten, because she had said, I'll leave it on your desk tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. My hands tightened. She still has access. Samantha immediately wrote something down. Did you tell her she could use your vehicle? No. Did you ever allow her to drive it? No. Mark looked at the records. That may explain the garage entries. How many? He hesitated. 23. 23. I felt anger rise in my chest. 23 times someone had used my car, and I didn't know. Can we see the dates? Mark printed them. I scanned the list. Most were normal work days. Then I saw one. My blood froze. October 14th. That date, I remembered, because it was the night Megan said she left her phone in my car. She had asked me the next morning, Nicole, did you see my phone? I had searched everywhere. She laughed and said she must have misplaced it, but according to the garage records, my car had been in the building at 11:42 p.m. I was home that night. I had proof. I checked my old calendar, a family dinner, photos, messages. I was nowhere near the office. Someone had driven my car. Samantha looked at me. Nicole. I pointed at the date. That night, I wasn't here. Mark nodded. That's why we checked camera footage. And he opened a video file. The quality wasn't perfect, but it was enough. A person walked toward my car. The face wasn't visible, but the clothes were. A dark jacket, a company badge. Then the person opened my car, using a key. I watched silently. Samantha paused the video. We're enhancing the image. Can you identify the person? Maybe. The screen showed the person's hand. A ring. A silver ring with a small black stone. I knew that ring. Megan wore it every day. I looked at Samantha. It's her. She didn't respond immediately, because she knew what that meant. Megan hadn't just accepted free rides. She had been accessing my vehicle, using it, representing it as company transportation, and hiding it. At 9:30, Megan walked into the office. She looked completely normal. That annoyed me more than if she had looked guilty. She saw me near security. Her expression changed. What are you doing here? I looked at her. What are you doing with my spare key? Her face went pale, only for a second. Then she recovered. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Yes. I pulled out my phone. 23 garage entries. Her expression changed again. Megan. She looked at Samantha, then Mark, then me. You went through my things. No. You investigated me. No. I stepped closer. The company did. She laughed nervously. That's ridiculous. Then explain. There's nothing to explain. Then explain why my car was registered as a corporate transportation vehicle. I didn't do that. Explain why your ring appears in security footage opening my car. That ended the performance. For the first time, Megan looked scared. You're twisting this. No. I held her eyes. I'm finally seeing it. She lowered her voice. Nicole, you don't understand. Then explain. She looked around. Nobody was helping her. Not Eric. Not Tyler. Not Brandon. Her voice dropped. Eric said everything was approved. Approved by who? I don't know. You used my car. For work. Without permission. You never stopped me. That sentence. That exact sentence. It was the same excuse everyone had used before. You never stopped me. I almost smiled, because I finally understood something. People like Megan didn't need permission. They only needed someone who was too tired to fight. Not anymore. I looked at her. Where is my spare key? She swallowed. I don't have it. Then who does? Silence. A real one this time. Not because nobody had anything to say. Because she knew the answer. And she knew I would find out. At noon, Samantha called me back into the office. This time, Eric was there. His confidence was gone. Nicole. I sat down. What? He looked at the documents. I think there has been a misunderstanding. I almost laughed. Is that what we're calling this? He ignored the comment. The company did benefit from your vehicle usage. Without my permission. We believed you understood. No. He sighed. You were compensated indirectly. How? Visibility. Opportunities. I stared at him. You're telling me a possible promotion was my payment for thousands of dollars in expenses. That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said. His face hardened. You need to understand that companies function on cooperation. No. I shook my head. Companies function on agreements. He looked away. Then he said something that made my entire body tense. Nicole, if you continue down this path, you may discover things about that accident that you won't like. The room went cold. Because he had said it. The accident. The one that hadn't happened yet. Samantha immediately looked at him. What accident? Eric froze. Only for a second. But it was enough. I looked at him. You know something. No. You just mentioned an accident. I meant possible future issues. No. I leaned forward. You knew. His face changed. And for the first time since I came back to life, Eric looked afraid of me. Not angry. Not annoyed. Afraid. Samantha stood. Eric, this meeting is over. He left without another word. I watched the door close. Then Samantha turned to me. Nicole. Yes. I think we need to investigate the planned vehicle risk coverage immediately. I nodded, because now I knew. Selling my car hadn't just saved me money. It had changed the future. And somewhere, someone was panicking because the accident they planned no longer had the vehicle they needed. The next morning, I arrived at work earlier than usual. Not because I wanted to prove anything, because I knew something was coming. People like Eric didn't panic when they lost an argument. They panicked when they lost control. And yesterday, for the first time, he realized he didn't control the situation anymore. At 8:03, my phone rang. It was Samantha. Nicole, can you come to HR? Another update? Yes. Her voice was serious. I think you'll want to hear this. When I entered the conference room, I saw 3 familiar faces. Eric, Megan, and Tyler. Brandon wasn't there. That was interesting. Samantha motioned for me to sit. We completed the first round of our investigation. Eric looked exhausted. Megan looked angry. Tyler looked like he wanted to disappear. Samantha opened a folder. The investigation has confirmed several issues. She looked at Eric. First, the transportation document was created without Nicole's authorization. Eric said nothing. Second, company reimbursement funds were connected to transportation expenses involving Nicole's personal vehicle. Still nothing. Third, access records indicate that Nicole's vehicle was used for company-related activity without documented permission. Megan immediately interrupted. I already explained that. Samantha looked at her. No, you provided an explanation. We have not accepted it. Megan closed her mouth. That was new. Usually, she talked until everyone gave up. Samantha continued. We also reviewed the transportation risk coverage request. My attention sharpened. What did you find? Samantha looked at me. The request was submitted 6 months ago. 6 months. Before the accident. By Eric. Yes. What was the purpose? She slid a document across the table. Protecting the company from liability related to employee-owned vehicles used for business operations. I read it carefully. Then I looked up. So the company knew there was liability. Yes. but they never informed me. No. Eric finally spoke. Nicole, you're misunderstanding. I turned toward him. Am I? Yes. The company was trying to protect everyone. Everyone. Yes. I pointed at the document. Except the person who owned the vehicle. He didn't answer, because he knew. The risk was never shared. It was placed on me. Samantha continued. There is another issue. She looked at Tyler. Tyler admitted receiving gift cards from Megan. Tyler looked down. Megan immediately turned. You promised you wouldn't say anything. The room froze, not because nobody had words, because she had just confessed. Tyler's face went pale. I didn't mean. Samantha raised her hand. Thank you, Tyler. That statement has been recorded. Megan realized what she had done. Too late. I watched her anger turn into fear. You set me up. Tyler looked at her. No, you did that yourself. Interesting. The people who had depended on each other for months were now abandoning each other within minutes. Samantha opened another file. Megan, we need clarification on the gift cards. They were just thank you gifts. From whom? Eric. Why? She hesitated. For helping with administrative tasks, such as modifying transportation documents. No. Such as managing employee transportation records. No. Her answers came too quickly. Samantha noticed. So, what administrative tasks? Megan looked at Eric. That was the second mistake. Because Samantha saw it. Eric. He sighed. This is getting exaggerated. No, Samantha replied. It is becoming clearer. Eric leaned forward. Nicole benefited from this arrangement too. I almost smiled. There it was again. His favorite argument. Make the victim feel responsible. Explain. You were included in client discussions. You gained visibility. Because I drove people. Because you were dependable. So my reward for providing unpaid transportation was more work. That's not what I'm saying. It is. He looked frustrated. You're choosing to see everything negatively. No. I shook my head. I'm choosing to see it accurately. The room went quiet. Then Samantha asked the question everyone had been avoiding. Eric, did you know Nicole had not signed the transportation agreement? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. Eric. Finally, he said. I believed she understood. Samantha wrote something down. Did you verify? No. Did you receive written confirmation? No. Did you inform her that company funds were connected to her vehicle? No. 3 answers. 3 admissions. I watched him realize what he had done. Then he looked at me. You really want to destroy everyone over this? I almost couldn't believe it. After everything, he still made it sound like I was the problem. I didn't destroy anything. You brought all of this forward. No. I pointed at the documents. You created all of this. His expression hardened. You don't understand how business works. No. I stood. I understand exactly how this works. I looked at Megan. You needed my car. I looked at Eric. You needed my silence. Then I looked at Tyler. You needed my convenience. I gathered my papers, and none of you ever needed me. I left the room, but the investigation wasn't finished. By noon, another email arrived. This one from legal. Subject: Review of vehicle liability exposure. I opened it. The first paragraph made my heart beat faster. The company's legal department had discovered something hidden inside the risk coverage request. A secondary document. Attached. I opened it. It was a liability transfer form. The purpose? To shift responsibility for accidents involving employee-owned vehicles. The assigned vehicle? My Honda. The driver? Me. The effective date? The week before the planned client event. The same event from my previous life. The one that ended with the crash. My hands went cold, because now I knew the accident wasn't just something that happened. It was an event they had prepared for. I kept reading. The document listed several conditions. The driver must use the approved vehicle, transport assigned employees, follow company scheduling instructions, accept responsibility for road conditions and personal driving decisions. My stomach turned. They had built the perfect setup. If the accident happened, they could say, Nicole chose to drive. Nicole controlled the vehicle. Nicole accepted the risk. Nobody would ask why coworkers were inside. Nobody would ask why company documents existed. Nobody would ask why money had already been prepared. Except now they would. Because I sold the car, the foundation of their plan disappeared. At 3 p.m., Brandon came to my desk. He looked worse than I had ever seen him. Nicole. I didn't look up. What? I need to talk. You already did. I didn't tell you everything. I stopped typing. What else? He sat down. I knew Eric wanted you to keep driving. How long? Almost from the beginning. I stared at him. Why didn't you tell me? He looked ashamed. Because it benefited me. At least he was honest. That's not an excuse. I know. What else? He swallowed. The accident. My fingers stopped moving. What about it? I heard Eric and Megan talking about the client event. When? 2 weeks before. What did they say? He looked around, then lowered his voice. They said everything had to happen during that meeting. My heart tightened. Everything. I don't know. Brandon. He closed his eyes. Megan asked if the insurance paperwork was ready. I stared at him. What insurance paperwork? The vehicle risk paperwork. The same one. What did Eric say? Brandon hesitated. He said, once Nicole takes the blame, nobody will question the process. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Not because I was shocked. Because I finally had confirmation. My death wasn't just a tragedy. It was an outcome they were preparing for. I looked at Brandon. Why tell me now? He looked down. Because I realized something. What? If you hadn't sold the car. He swallowed. They would have destroyed you. I closed my laptop. Not me. He looked confused. What? I stood. They already did. I picked up my folder. The difference is... I looked toward Eric's office. This time I'm still alive. That evening, Samantha sent me one final update. The legal team found a scheduled event file connected to the transportation risk coverage. Please review immediately. Attached was a calendar invitation. Date, 8 months from now. Event, Henderson Client Transportation. Final review. Participants, Eric Dawson, Megan Price, Tyler Collins, and me. But I had never accepted the invitation. I opened the activity history. The invitation had been created yesterday. After I sold the car, someone had reopened the old plan. Someone was trying to rebuild it. And the only reason they were doing that was because they had lost the vehicle. They had lost control. And now they were desperate to find a replacement. The calendar invitation stayed open on my screen for almost 5 minutes. Not because I didn't understand it, because I did. They weren't trying to fix the situation. They were trying to recreate it. The old plan, the old timeline, the same people, the same client, the same setup. The only difference was one thing. I was no longer the person they could control. I forwarded the invitation to Samantha. Then I added one sentence. I never accepted this meeting. I never agreed to participate. Her reply came less than 10 minutes later. Do not delete anything. Legal is reviewing all activity connected to this event. For once, I didn't feel angry. I felt calm, because the people who had spent months preparing against me were now leaving evidence everywhere. At 9:15 the next morning, Eric called an emergency team meeting. Everyone knew something was wrong. Nobody joked. Nobody whispered. When I entered the conference room, Eric was standing at the front. He looked like someone who had rehearsed a speech all night. Before the situation becomes more complicated, I want everyone to understand that mistakes were made. Interesting. Not I made mistakes. Mistakes. Always smaller when nobody owns them. He continued. The transportation arrangement was created because the team needed efficiency. I sat down. The company was trying to support employees. Megan nodded immediately. Tyler looked uncomfortable. Brandon avoided eye contact. Eric looked at me. Nicole, I think you understand that cooperation is important. I almost smiled. He was still trying the same strategy. Make me feel guilty. Make me responsible. Make me doubt myself. But that version of me was gone. I understand cooperation. He nodded. Good. I also understand consent. His expression changed slightly. Excuse me. I understand the difference between helping someone and being assigned responsibility without agreement. The room became uncomfortable. Eric sighed. This isn't the time for accusations. Then, don't make statements that require correction. Megan looked irritated. You're still doing this? I turned toward her. Doing what? Acting like everyone was against you. I looked at her. No. I paused. I'm acting like everyone should be responsible for their own choices. Nobody answered. Eric ended the meeting quickly, but I knew something had changed. He wasn't trying to convince me anymore. He was trying to contain damage. At 11:40, Samantha called me. Nicole, we found something. What? The original event plan. The Henderson meeting? Yes. I walked into HR. Samantha had several documents open. The meeting invitation you received wasn't created yesterday. I frowned, but the activity history said. The invitation was restored yesterday. Restored? Yes. From where? She turned the screen. Archived files. My stomach tightened. Who archived it? She pointed. Eric. Of course. He archived the event 3 months ago. Why? That's what we're investigating. I looked at the file. The details were different from what I remembered. The original plan wasn't just a client meeting. It included transportation, dinner, alcohol, late-night return, multiple employees, and one designated driver, me. My hands tightened. They planned everything. Samantha nodded. That appears likely. Why was I the only driver? She didn't answer immediately. Then she opened another file. A message. From Eric to Megan. 6 months earlier. Make sure Nicole continues driving. She's the safest option. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was unbelievable. Safest option. That was how they described using me. Megan had replied. She won't refuse. She never does. I stared at the screen. There it was. The entire truth. Not hidden. Not complicated. They didn't choose me because I was qualified. They chose me because I was easy to sacrifice. At 2 p.m., HR called Megan in. At 2:45, they called Tyler. At 3:20, they called Brandon. By the end of the day, everything started falling apart. Tyler came to my desk first. I got suspended. I looked up. Why? They said I accepted improper benefits. Did you? He looked away. Yes. At least he admitted it. What happens now? I don't know. I closed my laptop. Tyler. He looked at me. You knew. I know. You watched them build this. I know. You still got in my car every day. His face changed. I thought it was harmless. That's what everyone says before something becomes serious. He lowered his head. I am sorry. I believed he was sorry, but that didn't erase anything. Sorry didn't pay back 14 months. Sorry didn't undo the fear I had felt in my previous life. Later that afternoon, Brandon came. He looked different. Not scared. Defeated. They found the gift cards. I nodded. I know. They're saying I was part of the scheme. Were you? He didn't answer. That was enough. I never thought it would go this far. I looked at him. That's the problem. What? People like you never think about the ending. He looked confused. You only think about the next favor. That hit him. Because it was true. Everyone had only thought about tomorrow. Tomorrow's ride. Tomorrow's meeting. Tomorrow's convenience. Nobody thought about what happened when the person carrying everything finally stopped. At 5:10, Megan appeared. She didn't come angry this time. She came desperate. Nicole. I didn't respond. Please. That word sounded strange from her. What? I need your help. I almost laughed. You need my help? Yes. Why? She looked embarrassed. Because legal is asking questions. Questions about what? She lowered her voice. About the accident planning. There it was. The phrase. Not the transportation. Not the paperwork. The accident planning. I stared at her. You knew. No. You just said accident planning. Her face changed. I meant the event planning. No. I stood. You knew there was a plan. She looked around, then whispered. Eric told me it was only paperwork. What paperwork? I don't know. You helped create it. I thought it was for protection. Protection for who? She didn't answer. I stepped closer. Not me. Her eyes filled with frustration. You don't understand. No. I shook my head. I understand perfectly. She grabbed my arm. Nicole, please. If you tell legal everything, Eric will take us down with him. I looked at her hand, then at her face. Months ago, she would have asked me for a ride. Today, she was asking me to save her. The difference was simple. Before, she thought I existed to make her life easier. Now she knew I could make it harder. I pulled my arm away. You're asking me to protect you from the consequences of what you did. I'm asking you not to ruin my life. I looked at her. Megan. She waited. You ruined your own life when you decided mine mattered less. She had nothing to say. That night, HR sent the final update. The investigation had uncovered enough evidence to move forward. Eric was placed on administrative leave. Megan lost access to company systems. The transportation program was officially suspended. And the biggest discovery came last. The insurance company had reviewed the planned vehicle risk coverage. They found something strange. The policy wasn't created to protect the company. It was created to protect specific employees. From liability, the company would be protected. The passengers would be protected. The only person exposed, the driver, me, the person whose car they needed, the person whose name they needed, the person they thought would never fight back. The next morning, Samantha called me. Nicole, we need you to come in. Why? There's one more document. What document? A settlement proposal. From who? She hesitated. Eric. I frowned. Why would he send me a settlement? Because he knows what happens next. What happens next? Her voice became serious. If this goes public, the company will have to explain why an employee's private vehicle was turned into a liability shield. I understood. They weren't apologizing. They were negotiating. They wanted to pay me enough to make me disappear. I opened the attachment. The number shocked me. $50,000. A lot of money. More than I had ever saved. But then I saw the condition. Nicole Carter agrees to waive all claims related to transportation arrangements, vehicle usage, and future liability concerns. I smiled. They were still trying. Even after everything. They still thought they could buy my silence. I replied with one sentence. I don't want money for the problem you created. I want the truth about why you created it. Then I hit send. 5 minutes later, Samantha called. Nicole. Yes. The company wants to schedule a final meeting. With who? She paused. Everyone involved. Eric, Megan, Tyler, Brandon, and me. I looked at the calendar. A week ago, these people thought I was just their driver. Now they were sitting across from me because I was the one person who could expose everything. And this time, I wouldn't be the one arriving in the car. I would be the person deciding where everyone went next. The final meeting was scheduled for Friday morning. The same conference room, the same table, the same people, but everything was different. A week earlier, I had walked into that room as the employee everyone expected to stay quiet, the reliable one, the helpful one, the person who would solve problems without creating any. Now, I walked in carrying a folder filled with proof. And nobody looked at me like I was easy anymore. Eric was already sitting there. He looked older, not physically, just defeated. Megan sat beside him. She avoided looking at me. Tyler and Brandon sat on opposite sides of the table. Neither of them looked comfortable. Samantha from HR was there. So was someone from the legal department. The company wasn't treating this like a workplace disagreement anymore. It was treating it like what it was, a serious investigation. Samantha opened the meeting. Today's purpose is to review the findings and determine the next steps. Eric immediately raised his hand. I want to clarify that there was never any intention to harm Nicole. I looked at him. That sentence was interesting. Not nothing happened. Not the accusations are false. Just no intention to harm. A careful choice of words. Samantha noticed too. Eric will address intent after we address actions. He leaned back. Fine. The truth was coming out whether he wanted it or not. The legal representative opened a file. Based on our investigation, we confirmed several violations. He began listing them. Unauthorized creation of transportation records, misrepresentation of employee responsibilities, improper use of departmental funds, unauthorized access and use of a personal vehicle, attempted transfer of liability through internal documentation. Each sentence felt like another piece of the weight I had carried alone in my previous life. But this time, I wasn't carrying it. They were. Megan finally spoke. I want to explain something. Nobody stopped her. She looked at me. I never thought it would become this serious. I almost smiled. That sentence was everywhere. I never thought. I never knew. I never meant. People always discovered consequences after someone else paid the price. Megan continued. When Nicole started driving us, it was supposed to be temporary. I nodded. That's true. She looked surprised. You agree? Yes. It was temporary. I looked around the table until everyone realized temporary was convenient. Nobody responded. She lowered her voice. We didn't force you. No. I agreed. You didn't. That caught her off guard. Then I continued. You just created a situation where saying no became difficult. Megan looked down. Because that was the part nobody wanted to admit. Pressure didn't always look like threats. Sometimes it looked like disappointed faces, guilt, small requests. You're already going that way. You don't mind, right? It's only 5 minutes. Until 5 minutes became 14 months. The legal representative turned to Eric. Your responsibility is the most significant because you had managerial authority. Eric sighed. I was trying to solve a transportation issue. No, the lawyer corrected him. You were trying to solve a company problem using an employee's personal resources without proper authorization. Eric's jaw tightened. I believed Nicole agreed. Samantha immediately responded. You never verified. No. You never obtained a signed agreement. No. You never informed Nicole that reimbursement funds were being connected to her vehicle. No. 3 answers. 3 admissions. The room became uncomfortable. Then Eric looked at me. You really want everyone punished? There it was. The final attempt. Make me feel guilty. I looked at him. I want everyone responsible. There's a difference. Yes. I pointed at the documents. Punishment is what happens after someone refuses responsibility. Nobody spoke. Eric looked away. For the first time, he had no argument. After the meeting, Samantha asked me to stay. Everyone else left. She closed the door. Nicole. Yes. There's something else you should know. I waited. The company reviewed your original accident claim from your previous records. My heart stopped for a second, not because I was afraid, because I remembered. The crash, the hospital, the accusations, the feeling of losing everything. What did they find? She opened a file. The accident report had inconsistencies. I looked at her. What kind? The passenger statements. Of course, they're statements. Yes. She handed me a copy. I read. Megan had claimed I was driving aggressively. Tyler had claimed I ignored warnings. Brandon had claimed I refused suggestions to slow down. I closed my eyes. 3 people. 3 lies. Then Samantha placed another document down. Traffic data. I looked at it. My hands froze. The vehicle's speed history. The route. The weather. Everything. The data showed something impossible. I wasn't speeding. I hadn't ignored warnings. The accident happened because another vehicle crossed into my lane. A mistake. A normal accident. One that they had transformed into my fault. I looked up. They lied. Samantha nodded. Yes. And nobody checked? The investigation focused on employee statements. Because everyone had agreed. Everyone except me. I sat there quietly. Not because I was broken. Because I finally understood. The hardest part of betrayal wasn't what people did. It was realizing they had all agreed on the same story. And you were the only person who knew it was false. That afternoon, the company issued official decisions. Eric was terminated. Megan was terminated for falsifying records and misuse of company resources. Tyler received disciplinary action and probation because of his cooperation. Brandon resigned before further investigation. The transportation system was completely removed. No more unofficial arrangements. No more employees using personal resources without agreements. A month later, I accepted a new position at another company. Better pay, better environment, a place where people valued my skills instead of my availability. The first thing my new manager said during my interview was, "We hired you because you're good at your work." Not because I owned a car, not because I was convenient, because of me. That was something I had forgotten mattered. One Friday afternoon, I walked past a dealership. A new car sat in the window. For a moment, I thought about buying one. Then I laughed. Not because cars were bad, because I finally understood the difference. A car was transportation. It wasn't a responsibility to carry everyone else's life. I kept walking. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I opened it. It was Megan. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I'm sorry." I stared at the message. Then another appeared. "I should have realized you were helping us. I should have appreciated it." I thought about replying. I thought about all the things I could say. But eventually I typed only one sentence. "I hope you learn to value people before you need something from them." Then I put my phone away. Because forgiveness didn't mean returning to the same place. And moving on didn't mean pretending nothing happened. It meant choosing myself. The day I sold my commuter car, everyone thought I had made a mistake. My coworkers panicked because they lost their free ride. My manager panicked because he lost control. But I gained something much more important. I gained my life back. And this time, nobody else was driving it.